I am Damilola Teidi-Ayoola and I am on People.
Welcome to a new episode of On People, a podcast on people at work, where we dive into stories and learnings from the forefront of Africa's work scene. My name is Anima, and I am here with my co-host, Tom.
Hi.
Today's guest has been enabling African technology businesses to succeed for over 14 years. From a career in software development at SocketWorks, running a mobility startup with GoMyWay, to most recently being director of startups at Co-Creation Hub, where she designed Pan-African programs supporting tech companies across the continent. Damilola has been at the center of startups in Africa. Now, she leads the platform and networks team at Ventures Platform, where she designs and executes post-investment support initiatives that drive profitability in the firm's portfolio. She's on the advisory board of different fintech and AI companies and was named one of the 100 most inspiring women in Nigeria by Leading Ladies Africa in 2022. Damilola holds a bachelor's degree in information technology and a master's degree in strategy and innovation management from the University of Southampton, United Kingdom. We present to you Damilola Teidi-Ayoola.
Welcome to On People, Damilola.
Thank you, Tom. Hi. Hi, Anima. Hiya.
Oh, awesome. So, from analyzing businesses to running a business, and then now supporting businesses, you've been building platform structures, and your role as ecosystem builder sounds very impressive. Is very impressive. But how do you describe that term or that phrase, ecosystem builder, in everyday language to the layman or laymen? How do you describe that?
So I think an ecosystem builder, and there are, quite a couple of us in the ecosystem, but it's people that, or someone through their work or the activities they do within the ecosystem, they're contributing to the success of an ecosystem. So in this case,
Okay.
tech ecosystem. And for me personally, why do I identify as an ecosystem builder is because like throughout my career, I've supported different nodes within the ecosystem. I've worked very deeply with
Mm,
startups. I've worked with organizations that want to support startups, helping them think through the right incentives, the right structure, the right program, how to deliver it, co-creating those things with them. So enabling them to offer the right support and also enabling the entrepreneurs, giving them the right support, mentorship resources to also be able to scale. Also,
mm,
big on convening people together, organizing certain ecosystem events that bring people together, partnerships,
mm,
to be able to strike partnerships, but also to exchange really like insightful, you know, data or knowledge that advances the ecosystem. So conversations that advance the ecosystem. And this is why, I like to call myself an ecosystem builder because it fits right into the definition.
Yeah, it does actually. It does. And to be truthful, you have been at the center. You've been one of the people at the center of things for the last decade. Actually, probably over a decade, maybe 2015, 2014, if I'm correct. Right? So yes, that term does fit you. Yes, about 10 years plus, just over a decade. But what would you say is the
Yeah, like
wildest
14.
assumption that
Yeah, yeah.
people 14, exactly. As I was saying, 2015. So that would be what was it, 20. Okay, so 14 years. Wow, over a decade. Yeah. So what would you say is the wildest assumption that people make about your job or about your role in general?
People, maybe in my current role, I do a lot of education and just speaking about the current role I'm in, which is platform role. Um,
Mm,
it's kind of like portfolio support or portfolio success, but some people don't understand how important it can be or how,
Mm.
in depth, or the amount of work that goes into it, which is that, after
Okay.
you give a company money, capital, they need other support nodes to be able to grow. And so
Yes.
my work is to be able to offer the support or enable the firm and all the my colleagues to be able to offer that support, but not in a way that is
Mm.
inefficient or in a way that is just reactive. So only when a company reaches out to you, then you're rushing to react. We have to be
Mm.
proactive. We have to use a lot of data. We have to design things in a very systematic way where, okay,
Mm.
everyone is reaching out to us for, say, talent. How do we identify, first of all, that everyone is reaching out to us for talent? How do we even identify that that's the most important need if we are not collecting the data?
Yeah.
But then when you identify that need, do you want to continue offering support just one on one, or do you want to step back and say, between technology, working with multiple partners, and designing something, can we build something that everyone feels supported on talent, but it's in a scalable way where we are not necessarily adding new team members? So this could be like working with a vendor that is big on recruitment or talent support or wherever the needs are, using technology to maybe connect the vendor to our portfolio companies. It's just basically
Mm.
thinking in systems and offering that
Mm.
support and ensuring that the support that we offer directly correlates to the success of the companies. Because sometimes there might not be direct correlation. You might just be doing different things and it's not really helping the companies. So we always have to keep in mind that we are building something that needs to be efficient, needs to be scalable, and needs to offer direct support to our companies, to our portfolio companies. And that's what, the platform role entails, or when you think about portfolio support in a scalable way, that's what it entails.
I mean, I just picture you at the center of everything, pulling the different strings, making sure that everything is working, and everybody's benefiting and adding value to the ecosystem all at once. That's so impressive. But I'm sure that at the core of your work, you get to interrelate and interact with people a lot. And so that leads us to the next question about how you balance the human side versus supporting founders with business demands and building your portfolios.
Okay. So when you say like how you support the human side, what does that look like? Is it
So,
with the
I mean, we all
founders
know
or?
that the human side comes with certain difficulties or challenges, if you would call it that, that requires of you as a person who is trying to do business to be humane, to show empathy sometimes, to extend compassion, but you're also thinking, okay, I have a portfolio of businesses to support. They need to continue going on sustainably and all of that. So how do you strike the balance?
That's a good question. The way I do that is, one, I always lead with empathy, and I learned this because I was an entrepreneur myself at some point, and that is super hard. Being an entrepreneur is super
Can you
hard.
tell us about
So
that?
I mean, I ran a company called Go
Yeah.
My Way. I ran it even as a hired CEO at the time. So, but I ran it from the beginning. So I was the one that launched it and pushed it. So I had the feel of what it feels like to be an entrepreneur, and it's
Mm.
All
not the easiest
right.
thing. So immediately, I think I imbibed, like I became very, like, I had that empathy just coming out of there. I think that's the biggest takeaway I got
Mm.
from being an entrepreneur.
Mm.
So that is like my natural self now. And even times where maybe there's pressure from work or just pressure from what's happening in the ecosystem, I have to constantly remind myself to have empathy towards the
Mm.
entrepreneurs. However, also having this whole experience, I do have certain indicators for when things are not going well or when the entrepreneur is not doing their own part. So I'm being empathetic towards you, but how are you responding to that? Are you, because some people might think that, oh, if you do too much empathy, you're too founder friendly, that's when you start to, you get into trouble or you
Yes.
have not get into trouble, but like you might miss something that the founder did wrong because you're being too overly friendly. So I think that the
Mm.
balance there is have empathy for sure, you do need it. But for me, there are certain indicators that if any of those triggers go off, then I'm like, okay, we have to, you have to get me this. There's something wrong here. Can we have a conversation? Like we then flip to, yes, there's empathy, but now we have to be, there is discipline that is needed. And so I always feel like there's a balance. And it's also like as an investor, how you approach the company from the beginning, the due diligence that you put in, the things that you put in your agreement or in your side letters, these are the things that we expect of you as investors, whether it's reporting, whether it's things. And a good entrepreneur will keep to those things, or communicate with you when those things are not, when they're not able to meet certain things, right? And so when someone is going against that, what has been signed, that can be another trigger, right? And you will still approach it with care, but the other party will know that, okay, we mean serious business, so let's have a serious conversation. And for me, that's how I think I balance it.
That's a very good response. To see that your experience with Go My Way is not a waste,
It's
but
not,
it's
it's
now
not a
not even
waste.
clouding your judgment because you have triggers that guide you and help you decide about how to go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's really good.
Awesome. So, Dami, you've touched on Go My Way, and that was something that I had wanted us to speak about. Considering that I was in your life during Go My Way, and then I also supported you. Yes, and also supported you with Go My Way. In hindsight, do you feel like it was ahead of its time, or do you feel like it was being the pioneer, or being one of the pioneers at that time in logistics, in movement, in transportation, sort of, that people weren't just ready, or you had to do a lot more educating? What would you say had caused that, or that
Mhm.
exit?
That exit when we had to close. Was it
Yes,
ahead of its time?
yes, exit not being, yes, exit when we had to close.
Yeah, yeah. So just, yeah, closing it. So there were multiple reasons why we had to close it. Um, Perhaps it wasn't time for it, as I don't know, but I think that there were
Yes.
reasons above that that made us, that eventually led to the shutdown of it. The reason I say this is because around the time we launched, we also had Uber launching around that same time. Now,
Yes.
because Uber was running around that time, they were spending a lot of money educating the market around transportation
Mm,
and technology going
mm,
together.
mm.
And this was super helpful for us. We did a lot of market education and it was very difficult, but I imagine that it would have been super difficult if Uber wasn't in the market at the time. And
Oh,
people don't necessarily know this. They think, oh, Uber was a competition and it's part of the reasons we failed. No, nobody that was using Go My Way was going to use Uber. It wasn't in the same vicinity. The cost was just significantly different. Um,
mm.
but
It is
Uber's
true.
marketing did help us because people just could now associate, from everyone to your neighbor to your mom to grandma, they were able to associate going from one place to the other with technology. So we didn't have to make too much noise with our small money about that. Um, and then the whole idea of sharing rides, yeah, maybe that's the part that was a bit new and strange to the
Mm,
market. And maybe that's the part that people will say, oh, maybe it was above its time. But even if you bring it now, people will still approach it in a very strange way. So you might still have that strange
way.
approach to it. Like I said, there were other, reasons. If I give one of them that I usually share with people that is not technically, it's not really obvious, is that with Go My Way, because the drivers were private car owners, they didn't have the flexibility of an Uber driver. So a
Mm,
car owner like Tone, if you were going to pick someone up, you're only going to go from say Lekki. If your office was in Aja, for example, you can only do Lekki to Aja. You're not going to go to VI and pick
Georgia,
somebody up, or go to Yaba and pick
out of
somebody
your
up.
way.
So you
Correct.
don't have flexibility of place. So that means we needed multiple people on that Lekki to Aja route, whereas Uber would need maybe just two
Mm,
drivers, because those two drivers can go and pick anybody up around the Lekki VI, even Ikoyi axis. So you had that
mm,
significant work we had to do on the supply side within a solution that was
mm,
still strange to the market. And I think that and some other reasons were a bit higher than it being too ahead of its time. Yes, it may have been ahead, but not too ahead because we benefited from the ride sharing movement that was happening around the time.
Thank you, Dami. So
Sure.
I like that. Anyone listening would understand that, because a lot of times people think, oh, I have competition in the market, and they feel like it's a bad thing. So now you just sharing is also just letting us know or giving us insights that having competition sometimes is good for the market education, especially if it's a very new idea or a new product or a new service. Then everyone is sort of
Yeah.
leveraging on what the other competitor is marketing as well. So thank you. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that that also
Yeah.
speaks to how you have
If the competitor has money to spend on
has money.
marketing.
High is very important.
If they have
To
more
spend on
financial
marketing, of
resources
course.
than you, yeah.
Resource, exactly, and Uber was big. But yes, you're right. I actually think that perhaps a lot of factors I know went into it, but I think that one of the things is that it was a very new idea, and people were still having to learn to trust others as
Yeah.
well. So I know that that's just one factor from the many factors, but I agree that that may have
Yeah.
been a
Yeah.
significant factor at that time,
Yeah.
especially.
At that time.
Thank
Agreed.
you for
Agreed.
just touching on Go My Way. Yes, and I love the name. I always
Mhm.
did. It was very
Thank you for
clear. It was
sharing
very
your Go My Way
straightforward. Are you going my
experience.
way? Yes.
Yeah, you're going by.
And so, I mean, thank you for sharing your Go My Way experience. And the thing with experience is that a lot of the times it comes with mistakes, but
Mm-hmm.
harnessing those mistakes gives us lessons.
Yes.
So, can you share some of yours? What mistakes have you made?
Agree.
What lessons have you heard? Have you learned, rather, that has so far shaped how you approach leadership and supporting entrepreneurs?
I think the first one that really was a mindset shift for me was just understanding people, that you have to look up to people for different reasons. And that even people in high places or top executives don't know everything. And people are limited by the industry that they work in. And so sometimes their knowledge is limited by the industry or industries that they've worked in. And that means that as an entrepreneur, your spirit of discernment needs to be very high. You need to understand context, you need to understand where people are coming from. This was a very big mindset shift for me because when you're an entrepreneur, people give you a lot of advice. And then it's not until when you make a few mistakes, you then realize that, wait, so this advice that this person gave me, safe, it's maybe because it's their industry that they are from, you know. So it makes sense when you
Yes.
think about the context the person was bringing the advice from. And then you start to realize that, but I don't face that issue in my own industry. So that was one of my biggest things. And I would say that after that period of my life, I sort of, people do hero worshiping. Like people have heroes that they really worship and they can do no wrong. I don't have that anymore. Um, I don't put people on high pedestals. Like I treat people that, oh, I know you're an oil and gas tycoon, and that's how I respect you. And I put your knowledge within that context. Oh, you know, basically I do that. And how it affected me working with entrepreneurs is when I then started to build expert networks on mentorship, I didn't necessarily have to go for the CEO of a company. Initially when you want to build mentorship, you want to get all the high flyers. I would usually go to, if I have an entrepreneur that has an issue in maybe even hiring, I will find the person that was head of HR or head of recruiting. I might not even go to the HR, I might go to the person that was doing the recruiting for a particular company that I thought did very well. And even when I find the person, I'll try to see stuff about them online, their LinkedIn, like what they talk about, what's their thought process before I bring that person in. It became very big for me. I started to see things beyond the surface, beyond perception, beyond thought leadership online to say, does this person really have the substance? Where is their context? Where are they coming from? That was a very big mindset shift for me. And I think it really did help, entrepreneurs when I went back to CC Hub at the time, when I was building certain expert networks or mentorship networks. I feel like I was able to get the right people in that met the needs of the startups directly. They might not be a popular person, and I wasn't concerned about that anymore. I think the second thing I realized is that people people don't it's important to use a particular solution by a founder, or at least understand the solution before you start to give your advice. And people always have stuff to say whether they even understand the solution or not. So now I tell entrepreneurs, or I try myself, like if I'm going to give you any advice, I first want to understand what you're building, where you're coming from, um, and all of that. So yeah, those are like some of the learnings that I've taken. Mistakes, I don't know, there were quite a number of different, mistakes that I think, people have even moved past from. Like in Go My Way, for example, we were not charging people at the beginning. It was that thing about waiting for your user base to grow and then before you start charging. But those days are gone now. People know they have to make money from the beginning. So yeah, um, that's it from me in terms of mistakes and learnings.
That's such a rich one. Um, so, the richness of your mistake contributes to the expanse of your knowledge base.
Yeah, yeah.
But all of it is so solid and grounded.
Thank you. Thanks.
So, just listening to all the work that you have done with supporting entrepreneurs and founders and businesses in general, beyond funding, which I know lots of people don't want to hear, because most people, for them, people are tired of the accelerators that are just for mentorship and master classes on trainings and all, and they're just looking for to have funds to go.
Wants to
But
break.
because you are at the center and because you see how important it is for non-financial support, I would ask you, beyond funding, what sort of non-financial support do you think will become the most critical for African founders in the future, in the near future, and where we're going to now?
Um, wow, I think that there's a lot of things that founders typically need. Talent is always there. It's always a key thing. And perhaps, Pan-African talent and maybe even global talents, depending as the companies are growing. You might start to see the needs move from local talent, say in Nigeria, wherever you are, to Pan African talent, to even global talent, and having to then recruit at certain levels. Sometimes startups can handle it themselves, to be fair. So as they grow, they're able to handle those major recruitments. And sometimes they might come to you. I think another key thing that would help the ecosystem is sort of governance, accountability, transparency, and making sure that we have the right foundations for that. And investors are having those conversations and founders are open to those conversations, because from what we've seen, it's it's a good bedrock for any kind of next step that you're going. So if you're going from seed, raising a seed, to raising a Series A, there are certain things that are checked: your financial statements, the way you've been accountable, your governance structures, or your appetite for governance structures. If you're thinking about exits, those things are still important. So for an ecosystem, making sure we have the right support nodes for accountability, governance, transparency, and infusing those things even at the early stages is very important. I think that growth will always be important. So things around business development, acquisition, sales would always be big, and finding ways to do that, especially working with larger corporates who, might be customers of some of the B2B businesses that we're seeing, or B2B startups we're seeing, would also be important. Yeah, but we can talk about support all day, but I'll just mention those.
Yes,
I'll just
I
mention those.
agree. I love it. So talent, talent, talent. We're never running away from it. So the shift from local to Pan African to global talent,
Global.
and then corporate governance, and then growth as well. So those three things, I think, yes, and I agree. Of course, because I'm also in the space of talent, I'm always happy
Mhm.
to hear that talent is going to remain relevant.
It's people. You
Always,
can't
always,
actually
and
build
people
anything without
exactly.
people. So it's like yeah,
Exactly.
people.
You couldn't have put it better, music to our ears. Thank you. So I hope that, for anyone just listening, that they recognize that, non financial support in these areas is critical for the future. Thank you. Okay, Anima.
Thank you for that, Dami. And now that we have come into, the conversation about Pan-African talents, Africa is right now at the center of tech-driven businesses and all of that. People are starting to rise up to the demands of the times. If you were speaking directly to someone who wanted to, say, venture into a technology-driven business in Africa today, where are the biggest opportunities? Where should they be looking at? Where should they be channeling their energies and their resources?
Yeah, I do get this question a bit, but I think I could start listing multiple industries or sectors or categories. So, and I don't want to do that, but I just think what I would share would be that you'd have to look at the intersection between where you have deep local knowledge and expertise as a person. So if this is someone asking a question, you look at where do I have deep local knowledge and expertise as a person of a particular problem. um, Identifying, like, now we're talking tech, so I'll stick to tech because there are other things, but identifying what the solution or the tech solution is to meet that problem
Yes.
and ensuring that there is a large enough market that has that problem and requires that solution. Wherever these three things meet, there's a big opportunity. And it could be in tech, health, it could be in logistics, it could be in commerce, it could be in, whatever. But wherever these three things meet. And one thing about the local expertise or deep understanding of the problem is that you are also aware of many ways that problem has been how many ways people have tried to solve that problem. Sometimes when I speak to entrepreneurs, even with local knowledge, they are not knowledgeable about other ways other people have tried in that industry to solve that problem. And so if you're not aware of that, you might be making the same mistake. And that's just, wasting everybody's time, most especially yours and even your customers. So you go and meet your customers. I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and like, oh, when we went to meet our customers, they were saying, oh, we've met people like you before. So if you are coming with the same thing, it's wasting everybody's time. But if you have
Time.
deep understanding of the problem and the many ways that problem has been tried to solve at different points in time, then you can then combine that with, oh, I found a solution that is different or approaches the problem in a different way, but that also this is a big market, right? Or if it's a small market, this is a small market where I can charge really high or give really high value and get really high value back. And wherever these three things meet, um, the opportunity is there.
All right. So there's no straight jacketed answer. You just have to look in and find where your expertise lie. What have other people done? How have they attempted to solve this problem? And then how many people have that problem? I mean, I'm seeing markets in a different light, defining them as the number of people who have a problem.
Who have a problem
Thank you
and
for sharing
who
that.
even need the solution or are willing to pay for the solution. But yeah, we
Are
can go
willing to pay
into
for the
a bit more.
solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes. Awesome. So Dami, now that we're, just looking at, you've been here, you've been doing this for about 14 years. If we were to rewind to 14 years ago and you had to give, young Dami or younger Dami, because Dami's still young, younger Dami one piece of advice about navigating work, navigating this space, navigating technology, what would it be? It could be more than one, but one would be good as well.
Um, I think I've sort of mentioned a few things. And for the last 14 years, I mean, I've moved from engineering to supporting companies, now to
Yes.
VC. Um, I think there's an advice I actually received, maybe not when I was really young, but when I was younger than now, about like career and work, is that you're going to spend a lot of time at work. So
Mm,
it's not as serious as choosing your marriage partner, but it is serious because you spend a lot of time at that workplace, even more than maybe you spend with family. And so
yes.
choosing your workplace, wisely is very important. Choosing the people that you work with, wisely is very important. And this was something that was told to me at orientation in university when we were going for like internship. Like, you have to pick the right places because you're going to spend most of your day working with these people and interacting with these people more than your family. So just make sure you make the right choice. And I think I've been very lucky. That has guided me through. I've worked in places where I've been appreciated, where I've really loved working with people, and it's just made me happy about work, about what I do. So I would say maybe that's one key thing.
Yeah, I don't think, I feel like you've said it in a way that just makes it seem so. Maybe
Yeah.
that's it. That is an amazing, honestly, because again, it speaks to culture. Because lots of people, lots of people just think working is about money, and while making money, good money is always good. If you end up in a place where you don't feel appreciated, if you end up in a place where you feel like they're stifling not just the creativity and innovation out of you, but your life, your soul, your blood, everything, it's not worth it. So to hear you say, you've worked in those places, you've spent, yeah, because we're going to spend so much time there anyway.
Yeah,
I couldn't have put
exactly.
it better myself, and I think that that is an amazing piece of advice that has not come throughout this conversation. So I'm glad that you got to share it, that you got to remember it, and that
Yeah.
you've even lived it as well, and you got to share it. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. You're
Actually,
welcome. You're welcome.
The
okay.
validity of your question, it just feeds right into the agony aunt question that I'm going
Oh,
to
this
read
is
to you
true.
now. It's from a member of our community. And so here goes. Dear Damilola, I work at a young startup that's growing really fast, but honestly, the pressure is overwhelming. The founders are passionate, but sometimes it feels like they care more about scaling and raising money than about the people doing the work. I love the vision, but I'm burning out and I'm not sure how long I can last. In the startup world, is this just normal? Or should I be worried about staying in a place where the culture doesn't seem to value people? How do I know when it's worth pushing through and when it's time to walk away?
Okay, so yeah, that does fit in with what I said. um, wow. Um, I mean, the reason that I'm thinking about it a bit is because I don't have a lot of. First of all, I would just say that valuing people would always be a winning formula, right? So there's no negotiation on that bit. A culture that values people is super important. I think the reason that I'm thinking about it is that I also understand the fast-paced environment of a startup, the pressure of running a startup. If you've raised money, and you know that that's the path that you're on, that you need, external VC or investor money or bank, whatever, wherever you're getting money from to keep raising, there is a pressure that comes with that. And so um, you would work hard within a startup. There would be times where maybe you're required on a Saturday. I mean, even though I said like I worked with in really great places, there were times where we're required to come in at different times. There were times where I work late. So those things will come, but I think that it's still important, regardless, that you're working in somewhere where you feel like people's lives and people's health and mental health are valued. And there might be ways to point out whether these things are valued or not. So I always go like, just go to the basics. There are certain things an organization is obligated to offer you, right? Are you being do you have your 1 hour break? Do you have a 45 minutes break every day whilst you're in the office? Like you need to have that. It's an obligation. It was in your contract, right? If you're made to feel bad because you're taking a 45 minutes break, then that's odd. In my opinion, personally, it's odd. If I'm asking my boss that, oh, I need to go and eat lunch, and it's like, you've not done this, yeah, how are you going to take lunch? For me, that's not good culture, in my opinion. Like, I'm going to work hard. I could stay past 5 p.m., but I should be able to get like 30, 45, 1 hour for myself to eat and just be balanced. The second thing is your leave days. I worked in places, and someone knows we work really hard. I'm not even, like, we work very hard with all the places that I worked in and the one we worked in together. But you're encouraged to take your leave. You're encouraged to take, people are asking you, have you gone on leave? Do you need to rest? Right? If you're in a place where you're not encouraged to go off and go on break, and that you can there is some sort of rotation and other people can step in while you're gone. And the founder or whoever is saying that can you take 2 days off, or can you take 3 days, or oh, we need to launch something, I know you need 3 days, can you take 2 days, like where they're actually asking you, not imposing on you that you can't go, you have to take 1 day, I can't give you 3 days. I think those are signs, because these are basic obligations of an organization, and they are put in there to protect the employees. So if you are even making me feel bad for what is a basic obligation that I signed, if I'm even
Mhm.
giving you the work that is required of me, then this is a place that doesn't value people, basic. And I worked at Paystack for about 2 months in 2017. I don't know at this. I think at this point they had raised some money from YC already. I worked there from November to December, and I did. People were not talking. I don't know how many we were then. I don't know if we were. I think we were 20 or less. I'm not sure. But when I stepped into that place, this is me. Oh, I'm very culture driven. I'm value. When I stepped in, I remember then I had to ask Shola. I was meeting with Shola and I asked him, I said, Shola, this are many, you're doing many things for the people here. Is it not expensive? And I was about to work there, but like that was the time where I don't know whether it was lunch every day or breakfast every day, something like that, or breakfast on some days. There was always something stocked in the fridge. People were respected in terms of like respect our time and make sure you deliver on time, but you can walk into the office at 9:30 instead of 9, as long as you're doing your deliverables. There was such flexibility and respect. And I just remember, like, on the first or second day, I just asked him, I was like, Shoda, this is not too much like this.
Can you
And I
imagine?
remember, and this is me, oh, I'm not like, I actually value people. So you can imagine how surprised I was. And I say this because he then said that him is of the opinion that if he satisfies his people, if he values them, they will pour into the work and the work will be successful. Like this is, what he said to me. I said, okay. At least at that time there was no acquisition, there was nothing. So we don't know if it was good. I didn't know at the time if what he's saying was going to be the truth. But it did make sense to me. And I was like, okay, I would, work here. So many years when after I left, and I left because just alignment with my own purpose, not that the place wasn't a great place to work. But after I left, when people now started to talk about how nobody leaves Paystack, you can never put from Paystack, I said, you guys don't even understand. 2017, when I was there, you could get subsidy for living closer to the office. You could go, if you were looking for a house, there was a small room where you could stay whilst you are house hunting. It was just different mind-blowing things that just showed that these people care about people. So many years when you couldn't poach from Paystack and everyone would talk about it on Twitter, I was like, you can't. I don't know what they were doing years ago, people are just doing now. So I don't know how you're going to poach someone from there. And then after, when they got the acquisition or they got acquired, I started to think about how true what he told me a few years ago was, that when you pour into your people, when you value your people, even in a fast-paced environment, it would return. There's return on investment on it. The
Yeah.
fact that they will not leave, so you still have your team. People know that it's hard to poach them. They know what it is to be hard to poach someone. That means you've offered them more and they've said no. There's nothing you can offer them, because beyond the money, they were getting all of these other perks that you didn't even know of, right? And then also they were able to get acquired, and it was so big in the ecosystem. It's one of the biggest catalysts in the ecosystem, and nobody can take up that story from them. So just to answer that person, to say, yes, it's going to be a fast-paced environment. That is startup life, but you will know when you are being valued as a person. The basics are there. The fundamental agreement is there that your employer is obligated to. And even when they cannot give it, it shouldn't be forceful. They should be negotiating with you on your leave days if they don't want you to take everything. Not that they are forcing you not to take your leave. But at the end of the day, even to employers, there are companies that have treasured their people, and the ROI has been there, right? And
It's
and
been
it's
there.
yeah, that's what I would
Wow,
say.
Dami, your love for tech is ridiculous, right? So if you weren't working in tech, just as an aside, if you weren't working in tech or VC, what career do you think you'll be
Oh,
in
I would have
right
been
now?
I think I would have been a creative. I actually wanted to be a musician, so I would have been a creative.
Now we're talking.
I would have
Creatives
been a
gather round.
creative. I like
I love
music, I
it.
like film, I like spoken word. Like I love everything in creative space. So I probably would have
I
been there.
know, I know. Wow, lovely. So to close up, we have this new, thing. We're doing one thing at this point in your life, one song, one movie, one book. So Dami Teidi-Ayoola, one song. What's one song at this
Mm.
point in your life that is guiding you? One song.
One
One song
song
you
that
just enjoy in general.
one song that I just enjoyed. Oh, maybe. But I don't know. I just think I like the way the music is composed. Really, I don't know if it's
Yeah, that's fine.
maybe the lyrics in a bit is quite interesting. It's Never Enough, the one from The Greatest Showman. I don't know.
Ah, yeah, that is a good one. Yes, I think
Yeah.
also it's called Never, Never.
Yes,
No.
exactly. That
Yeah,
one. I,
that
I
one.
watched it
Never
recently.
enough.
Can
Yeah.
you imagine? I watched it recently.
Right.
So it's been in my head.
Interesting.
So maybe that's
Interesting.
one
Love it.
song. Um,
So one movie, would that be the one movie as well?
and that was actually a very impressive movie. So perhaps could be that. Let me see.
Okay, if
I
you had
think
to
more.
think, put it this way, if you had to think of, okay, you were saying something. What were you saying?
I think I was gonna say like that's a good movie, but one of my all-time, I think, movies that I used to point to before was The Pursuit of Happiness, the one that had Will Smith.
Yeah, Will
I
Smith and
really
his
liked
son
it.
and Jaden.
Yeah, I
Yes.
really liked it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have Never Enough, we have Pursuit of Happiness, and one
Mm.
book. If you had
Yeah,
to
that's
read
where
one
you're
book
gonna
for the
catch me
rest of
because
your
me
life.
and reading books, I'm such a slow reader. Like sometimes I don't even bother. I read
Yeah,
articles.
well,
So let
okay,
me see.
okay, one article. Oh, damn, it has changed my
One
book.
book. No,
Okay,
I
one book
could.
you've read that was like, wow, this is a book that has just changed how I think.
It's been a while. I could say I'm reading something now. I think around um, culture, but I'm even now trying to
Mm.
remember the name of the book, and I'm reading it now.
Mm.
Um,
It's
it's,
not my best book around culture, delivering happiness. No,
no, no, no, it's not that one. It's not that. I've
Culture
forgotten.
matters. Is that it?
No, it's not that. It's not that one.
oh,
Let me see if I can find the name of the book. But I'm just
that's
reading it
fine.
out because it was recommended.
Ah,
Yeah. Okay. So
French.
what you
Yeah.
do is who you are. Yes. Yes. Yes.
What you
That's what
do?
I'm
Oh,
reading.
that's nice. Is it a physical copy? I'll try and get that
No,
from
I'm
you.
reading
What
it.
you
It's a
do
soft
is who
copy.
you are. Okay,
Yes.
fine. I like that. What you do is who you are. The
Yeah.
pursuit of
Yes.
Mhm.
happiness and never enough. Wow, they sound very, very intelligent. Just deep.
Just
So,
think that
Dami,
I.
thank you for joining us on People, for making it happen.
Yes.
We know all the behind the scenes. I know how busy you are in this period, and just for making time for us, we deeply appreciate you. Thank you for tuning into this episode of On People. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Damilola as much as we did. Don't forget to subscribe and listen on your favorite podcast platforms. To keep the conversation going, drop comments and questions on our social media handles. Until next time, bye for now.